show you ways how we can automate and streamline your accounting process and go paperless at the same time. So let's start with what is document management means. Now, all of us are doing some form of document management, some form or some ways. For example, your file cabinets. It is a document management solution. However, you do have problems with searching and security matter, that's just to name a few. Then there are folks where we have the scanner, the large copier, printer, scanner in one. We're scanning documents and we're storing it to a network share folder. That is another form of document management. However, over time, you will run into searching issues and also same thing, security. So unless you're the person who's storing the documents, most likely you will have problem finding those documents later on. So this is where the technology moved to a software solution where it's a true document management system, like DocLink. So what is DocLink? Okay. What we do is we install a document management system. Imagine it as your electronic file cabinets, where you are able to store all of your information and documents. It will be secure, protected using our security system. But the benefit is that you will be able to access the documents and search for your documents and able to find your documents instantly from anywhere around the world. So eliminating the problem of misfiling your documents, the time that it takes to search for your documents. Some of the other components available with the document management system would be workflow. Now, workflow is designed to electronically route your documents around for review and approval and allow you to also electronically track your documents so you know exactly where it's at in the approval process and also full visibility to your documents that's needing to be approved and reviewed. There's other tools available to assist in other areas within your accounting, like AR department or sales order processing, or possibly also HR processing. I will talk more about the output automation tools. And then there's also other business tools like form management and so on, which we're going to talk about today. Some of the key benefits to using a document management system is that you will be able to increase your efficiencies, automate some of your business process, minimizing the delays of, for example, in the AP invoicing, the delay of processing and getting those invoices approved on time. Some of you are running out of storage space. You're having to pay for outside storage, or paying company like Iron Mountain to store and manage your documents. Why not eliminate some of those costs? Okay. Also, is for the AP invoicing side, is some of you are not able to take advantage of the early pay discount because you can't get those invoices approved on time to process the payment. Some of you may have regular audits, and so the time that it takes for your staff to find those documents, making copies of all those documents that's associated with the audits, for example. So also is misplacing of documents. You know, if you're not paying attention and you store that document into the wrong folder, wrong file cabinets, forget it. You're not going to find it. Okay, so there are multiple reasons why wanting to go paperless. Also, some of you may have need to comply with a lot of the government-regulated policies, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, and also disaster preparedness. Some of us, live in an area where there's regular earthquake or tornadoes or fire. So imagine if a disaster happens and your original documents are gone. Well, with a document management system, all your information is stored into a server, which is being backed up. So if something does happen to your document, we can restore all of that information. Okay, one of the key benefits to the DocLink document management system is that the one-time investment, most will start in the AP invoicing. They will also start in the AR side and sales orders. But then that same system that you have can be used to be expanded company-wide using it. Typically, the second department would be the HR department. It's the second most paper-intensive department. But you can use it in the marketing and engineering department, any department that you have. And also, if you have multiple divisions or sister companies. So the same system you have can be used anywhere in any department within your organization. So let's take a quick look overview of the solution. So what we do is we create a database. Okay? It's a repository where we store all of your documents and information. But because our solution is fully integrated with your the dynamic ERP applications, okay? So information is being passed back and forth between the two applications in real time. You now will have two areas where you can search and find your information. For the staff who have access to the ERP applications like GP or NAV or Solomon or AX, you can search and have access to your documents within the ERP application. But then there are many staff within your organization that does not have access to the ERP, so therefore they will search and have access to the documents within DocLink. So two places where you can find your documents. Also because the integration that we have is that there are ways how we can minimize your manual data entry, which we will share in a moment. But before you can access and search for your information, we first need to capture and bring those documents into the system. And here we have numerous methods of how we can do so. If you have them in hard copy, and then we will have to scan them in. Okay, you can use a multi-function device scanners or a desktop scanners. Many of you are receiving those AP invoices by email. Well, then we can import in and store the email attachments. There is no need for you to print it out and scan it in. Some of you are receiving it by the hard copy fax machine. Well, we will have to scan those in. But someone using electronic fax, so what we do is we can monitor your fax server and automatically bring those documents in. We can also read barcode as another example. Some documents have barcode on them, so we allow you to batch scan those documents in. We read the barcode on the document and then recognize it, automatically stores it into the system. Okay. Now our solution, we store content. So you may have files that are in Word, Excel format, PowerPoint. You may have also AutoCAD drawings. All those files can be stored into the system. Okay. I have engineering firms storing AutoCAD drawings. I have hospitals storing X-rays. I have sheriff departments storing mugshot, fingerprints, and videos of crime scenes, because we can store files in any format. In addition to that, we also can have version control, check-in and check-out features. So for document collaborations. So we also have customers storing draft documents into our system. Like, let's say you have a draft contract. You can store that into our system, and now people you can check it out. If you need to work on it, you can check it out, work on it, while other people can only view it. They cannot work on that same document. Okay. Once you're done, you can check the documents back in. The system will keep track of all the history and different versions of that document. You may also have, for example, that same document that's in Word format. You may want to store them into DocLink in TIFF format. Okay, so you don't normally you have to print it out and scan it in. Well, we have a virtual printer that actually can convert your document into TIFF format when you store it into our system. Okay, So it will convert all your electronic file into Word format and store them into DocLink automatically. However, that is not possible with audio and video files, of course. Okay. Now, some customer will use our system as a document management system to just for the need of getting rid of your file cabinet. You just want a place where you can scan and store your document into our system, have it secure, and also able to search for those information. Okay. So with our system, because it is designed for enterprise-wide use, our security has to be very tight and very granular. We can control the security down by the keystroke. Who can have access to the system? What document can they see within the system? And what can they do in the system? Can they search? Can they email? Can they print? Can they delete? Can they edit documents? And so on. Also is our solution, we are integrated with Active Directory security. So it is going to be easy for your IT to manage the systems, the users, and also it's for the user yourself, it's a single sign-on. In other words, your network login name and password is your login into DocLink. So you don't have to worry about remembering another login. Now, there will be customer that wants to use the system to store their live working documents and having to route it around for approval. For example, your AP invoices. You want to be able to route it around for people to review and work on to process that invoice for payments. So many will store the invoices into our system, use the workflow, route it around for approval, and finally, of course, you cut the check. And at the same time, all those documents are living in our system, so it's all searchable. We also have automate output process for the use of the AR invoices, sales order processing, and other area within your organization, which I will share in a moment. All right. Another key benefit to our solution is a feature called ERM, Enterprise Report Management. So when any document that you generate in-house within your ERP application, let's say your GP application, when you generate a purchase order, a copy of that purchase order can be stored into the system automatically. So there is no need for you to print it out and scan it in. So any document that you generate in-house within an application, an image of it can automatically be stored into the system. Here's an example. This is a copy of a check, okay, that is generated within GP. A copy of it automatically gets stored into the DocLink system, your repository or your file cabinet. We can actually add a word void or non-negotiable on this check for you if you like. Okay, so an image automatically gets stored into our system. But notice here to the right, we also pull over information about that document, and we tie it to the document so that you can search for it later on. So later on, you can go in and tell the system, hey, find for me the check that I paid for invoice 006. The system will bring up a copy of this check. Find for me the check that I paid for invoice 009. It will bring up the same check. Or find for me all the check that I paid for vendor Printigra. It will bring up all checks that's associated with this vendor name. Okay, so we pull these data over to help minimize manual data entry. So document that you generate in-house, we can store an image of it into our system automatically and also pull over data to help you minimize manual data entry. And these data here is for searching purpose later on, and also it allows us to tie different documents together. okay? Because associated with this check would be an invoice and also possibly packing slip, delivery ticket, maybe purchase order, or a contract, for example. So that's a unique feature that's part of the system. Another module we have available is for routing and distribution called Output Manager. It is often used in the for AR invoice delivery. Or if you generate, let's say, a sales orders and you have to send out order acknowledgement, for example. We also have customer using it for HR when you generate payroll for direct deposit. So how it works is, for example, when you generate your AR invoices, okay, you need to send it out to your clients, either by email, by fax, or by printing out hard copy and sending out snail mail. Okay, so what we can do is when you generate that invoice, our system can automatically send it out on a schedule, a routine schedule. So all you have to do is you generate the invoice. We will automatically pull a copy of it and store an image of it into our system. But at the same time, we will read the email address from your ERP application and automatically send it out via email for you on a scheduled basis. If we don't recognize the email address, and we will automatically then send it to a pre-configured printer, okay? Or if we recognize a fax number, then we will automatically send it to the fax machine. Now, sometime when you send out, for example, the invoice, you sometimes need to add supplemental documents to it because some of your customer may want to see a copy of that signed delivery ticket or the packing slip or maybe a copy of the purchase order. So right now, you print out the invoice. Then you have to go and find that delivery ticket, make a copy of it, then attach to the invoice and send it out. It's very time consuming. What we do is, if those supplemental document is stored in DocLink, what happens is when you generate the invoice within your ERP application, a copy of it gets stored into our system, but at the same time as we go into DocLink and pull the associated document to that invoice and automatically attach it to that invoice and then send it out for you. So at the end of the day, you create the invoice in your ERP application. We store an image of it into DocLink. At the same time, we pull over all the data associated with that invoice so you can search for it later on, okay? And then at the same time, we go in and we find the delivery ticket or the purchase order, the packing slip. We attach it to this invoice, and then we automatically email it out or print it out or fax it out for you. So here's the end result. In that email, you will have the invoice. And attached to that invoice would be the signed delivery ticket. Okay, and all you have to do is just create the invoice, and we do the rest. This is a very unique feature that's available with our solution offering. Okay. Another module we have is workflow. And again, the purpose of workflow is that it electronically routes your documents around for review and approval. It allows you to electronically track your documents so you know exactly where it's at, who's working on it, how long it's going to take before it's completed. And it also gives you visibility to the documents that need to be reviewed and approved. And also it has a full audit trail. So you can go back at any time and know exactly who approved or who denied it and why and when. Okay. Now, many customers will start the workflow in the AP invoicing side. Okay, you can use it for the non-PO or the PO purchase order invoice base. also for utility invoices and so on. But the key is once you own workflow, you can use it for the routing and approval of any types of documents. Okay, so the one-time investment, you can use it for the routing approval of any types of document. And it could be a document that has nothing to do with the financial side. You can use it for contract management approval, use it for HR onboarding, and use it for your engineering project, any type of project. So our workflow can be initiated in two ways. The first way is what we call the automated way. So as long as you can flow chart out your process, as long as you can define the task, who is supposed to perform the task, how long do you want to allow them to perform the task, do you have any business rules that we need to apply? And some of the example of business rules are, you may have, for example, invoices, for any invoices between $0 and $10,000, it must go to Lisa, Joe, and Jack. For anything between $10,000 and above, it must go to the CFO, the CEO, and the president for approval before a check can be cut. Okay, that's an example of business rules based on dollar amount value. Okay. Your company, you may have it's a large company, you may have multiple AP staff, and you may have certain AP staff responsible for working with certain vendors. Okay, so when the invoice comes in, the system will recognize, oh, that's the invoice for Verizon, and Annie, the AP person, is responsible for working with Verizon's. So the system will recognize the vendor name, that it's Verizon, and know to automatically send it to Annie, the AP person, because she is responsible for working with that particular vendors. Okay, so there's numerous business rules that you can apply. You can also decide that, hey, I want the system to allow to give the approver 24 hours to act on their task. And when it's overdue, I want the system to send them a reminder, but I also want the system to notify their manager. Or I want the system to escalate it to someone else. So as long as we know your business rule, we can apply it, and then we can initiate workflow automatically. Okay, but we also can initiate workflow manually as needed basis. So here's an example where I have a whole bunch of invoices that I've stored into our system. These invoices came in by scanning or by importing in from your emails. Okay, so now, for example, here Annie, the AP person, goes in, looks at the invoice, and decided that, hey, for this invoice, I need to send it to the CFO for approval. So here, Annie selectively selects the approver from a drop-down list and decides that she needs to send it to the CFO for approval. Okay, so this is useful for if you really don't have a true approval process and you just want to send the documents out for approval on the fly and deciding who you want it to go to. Okay, so now Annie's going to send it to the CFO. Now the question is, how does the reviewer or approvers know that there are documents requiring their attention? So one way is we send out what we call an email notification. So this is being sent out for every single invoice. Notice in the email, we attach the document that you need to look at. It has information about the document. But in the email, notice we have buttons, approve, deny. You may have buttons that said whole or more research, whatever function it is, okay, so that you can click on. So the biggest complaint I hear every day is we can't get the invoice approved on time for payment because the people who need to approve it are always traveling or working off-site and don't have access to the documents or don't come to the office often. or we have multiple locations throughout the world, and we can't get those documents on time for approval. So all you need is email access. Okay, and in that email, you now can look at the documents, and then from there, directly from the email, you just click on the button, approve, reject, or hold, whatever the function is. Once you click on the button, then it will move then to the next stage, okay, depending on what your process is. And once you click on the button, it will then be recorded in our audit log. So you can go back later on and find out who approved off on this invoice and when. Okay, so that's an example of email notification. Also is we are compatible with Android and mobile device. Okay. However, if you're a large organization and you process, let's say, 1,000 invoices a week, you definitely don't want to inundate the approver's email with 1,000 emails. So what we can do is instead, we can send out what we call an alert. The alert can be sent out on a routine time basis up to what you want. So you may want it every hour or at the end of the day, you decide. But in this alert, it will give you a total count. So here it tells John, you have 5 invoices that's waiting for your review and approval. 1 is overdue and 1 is a priority, maybe for early pay discount. We also have customers using this alert for reporting purpose. Some manager wants the system at the end of the day to send out an alert so they are aware of, for each of their staff or workers, how many invoices came in, how many is waiting for approval, how many is overdue, and how many are priority. Okay, so that's another example used for our alert function. You will find there will be people who are going to love workflow, like the managers, because now you're able to track, where those documents are, whose desk it's sitting in, how long it's going to take before it's completed. Customer, your vendor would be calling in, hey, John, what's going on with that invoice that I sent out a month ago? You will be able to go in and instantly and know exactly where it's at. So ways of improving your customer service. Okay. Also is able to know the workload of your staff. Why did John able to process 10 invoices today and Annie only processed 2? Okay, somebody's not doing the work. But then there'll be people that are going to hate workflow because it's now accountability. Okay. Now, I mentioned to you that the system has a full audit log that will track all your approvals. However, there will be still people that still want that physical approval or denial on the document itself. Okay, so we have a approval stamp. Once you click on that approval stamp, like I said, you may have from a drop-down list, you may have approved DNI, a whole stamp, or more research stamp, and so on. But once you click on the stamp, the system will place a permanent stamp on the document. So here it tells you that Mark, the CFO, approved it on this day and time. So now later on, if there's an audit, if the documents ever are being questioned, you can go in, you can search for it, and you have a full audit trail. Okay. Now, right now, just as an example, you have AP invoices. It comes in. AP staff then have to send it to the department manager for review and approval, and then the department managers or staff often write the account code or job code on the invoice, and then it gets sent back to AP, and then AP staff have to sit there, try to read that information, and then enter it into the ERP application. Don't you agree that that's double work right there, okay, of wasting your staff time? So we can increase your efficiency by eliminating that double work right there, okay? So here's an example where an invoice comes in, it gets stored into the DocLink system. Now, Joe, the IT manager, get workflow notification that there's an invoice waiting for his review and approval. Joe will then log into the DocLink system. Joe does not need to have access to the ERP application. But notice to the right here, because we are fully integrated with your ERP application, okay, we are connected directly to your GL master file in real time. So Joe can select the account, the GL code directly in the system on a drop-down list. Based on Joe's security, we can restrict so Joe can only have access to certain GL code instead of all the code. Also, if there are certain vendors that you deal with that have the same code all the time, we can set that up as a default. So instead of Joe writing the account code on the invoice, he'll select it from a drop-down list. Okay? Because we are connected to the ERP application also, you can type in the vendor name. We will go into the ERP application and pull over all the information about that vendor. Or you can type in a vendor number and we'll pull over all the data information. This is to help minimize manual data entry. Okay? Once you're done, this is an example of process, what we typically call as coding. But once you're done with a simple click, the system will create a cover sheet that will include all that information that you just coded. Okay? You see the import button right here on the right? Once you're ready, with a simple click on that import button, we will push all that coding that you just performed in DocLink over to your ERP application. Okay, we will push all that over to your ERP application, so AP don't have to sit there and do the same data entry. Okay, so again, you do not need to have access to your ERP application, but yet you are able to perform coding within DocLink, and we will push all that coding over to the ERP application, like GP. Okay. Now, we're human, we make errors. So if you see maybe they selected the wrong GL code, maybe the wrong dollar amount was input, maybe the wrong vendor, you can make the corrections in DocLink or within your ERP application, and in the back end of the database, we will update each other. The two applications will update each other. So there's no need for you to make the corrections in both places. Okay. Now, I mentioned to you that once you're done coding, we have that import button that will push the data over. We can also set the system to do batch import. So hourly or at the end of the day, that whatever invoices that you are completed coding, we will do a batch import over to the ERP application so you don't have to push it over one by one. Okay. So that's an example of a GL smart form. Now, there will be staff that will tell you, hey, I don't want to have to deal with selecting the code. I just want to continue writing the code on the invoice. No problem. So to further go paperless, we have annotation tool so the staff can go in and add a sticky note or a text box with the account or GL code. Okay, so they'll type it in instead of handwrite it in, so that way it's easier for the AP staff to read. We have redaction, so you can block off certain confidential information. This is also a very useful tool for HR department when it comes to HR documents. Okay, so just another way to help you go paperless. Okay, so once the staff type in the GL code or account code on the invoice, because he doesn't want to have to select it from a drop-down list, then AP staff will get notified, okay? And so here is a feature called SideBySide. With the integration, the AP staff will be able to have access to the invoice and all the documents associated with it, like let's say signed delivery ticket or packing slip or purchase order or sales order that's associated with the invoice. They will have access to all those documents in the ERP application. So now they just look at it, they will perform their coding. Once they're done, the system will push all that coding that they just performed within the ERP application, push all that over and tie it to the documents that was previously stored in DocLink. And again, the reason why we want this information tied to the document is so that you can search for those documents based on this information later on, and also it helps us tie all the different documents together. Okay, because we have customer where they will, for example, they will create purchase order in their ERP application. A copy of it gets stored into DocLink, and now they receive the order acknowledgement. They store that into our system, and it's tied to the purchase order. Now, when they have the goods or services gets delivered, they have the packing slip, the signed delivery tickets. Well, you store that into the system, and that's tied to the order acknowledgement and the purchase order. Finally, when the invoice comes in, you store that into the system, and that's tied to all the previous documents. And of course, now it gets routed around for people to review and work on. They will have access to all those documents. Okay, so here's an example of the side-by-side feature. Because of a unique integration with your ERP application, you will be able to have search and have access to the documents within your ERP application. You perform your coding, and then it push over all that coding you just performed over to DocLink, tying that information to the document that you previously stored in DocLink. Okay. So here's the end result. Once you finish performing your coding in your ERP, it pushes over all that coding that you just performed and tied to the invoice and other associated documents. So this information will stay within DocLink so you can search for it later on. So I mentioned we have a full audit log that tracks who logged in, what time, what date, what action was performed to which documents. Okay, so if you ever have an audit or anything that's been questioned, you can go in and have a full audit history. Also, for the supervisors, you will have access to the workflow log, so you can go in and know exactly where the document's at, which one's been approved, which one is still pending, which one is still pending to be enter into the ERP, and which one you just received in the mail and it's still sitting there waiting for it to be routed and assigned to the appropriate approvers. Okay. You can also reassign the tasks to someone else. Let's say Annie is on vacation and you need to assign her workload to other staff. You can do so if you have the appropriate security permission. Okay. Also we have other modules available, such as the web and the mobile app. On the web and the mobile app, you can search for documents, and also you have access to your workflow inbox so that you can review and approve and sign off on your document that's being assigned to you. Very soon, on the mobile app device, you will be able to take pictures of your receipts, and a copy of that receipt will automatically be stored into the DocLink system so that you can attach it to your expense report later on and route it around for review and approval. Okay, so you're able to take pictures of your receipt, and also you're able to upload and store documents through the web and the mobile device. That's coming soon in the very near future. Okay, so at the end of the day is you have documents living in your electronic file cabinets. I already mentioned to you the benefit to the integration is that you will be able to search and have access to the documents within your ERP application. But for those staff who do not have access to the ERP application, you will be able to search and have access to the documents within DocLink. Okay? So here's an example of our user interface screen of DocLink. Notice here, we can accommodate multiple companies. So the same system, if you have sister company or different division, you can use the same system to store their division documents. Okay? So here, for example, I have Fabricon company. Within that company, there are different types of documents stored within that company. Okay? So when John logs in, the system is going to check which company document does John have access to, and within that company, what types of document does he have access to. Okay, in this database, I have not only AP documents, but I have AR documents. I also have HR documents. But based on John's login, these are the only documents that he has access to. Okay. Now, when you store documents into our system, you first need to identify what type of document is it that you're storing into the system. Is it a check? Is it an invoice? Is it a purchase order? And notice attached to each document type is a set of defined property values. The property values are here for searching purpose. Okay, so notice when I click on AP invoice, the property values changed because this is the information that I want to search by. When you store documents to our system, for example here, we have to manually, in one way is we manually input these property value information. But we can also link to your ERP application or any application in-house. So if, for example here, I can type in a purchase order number, but because the purchase order was created in GP, I can type in a purchase order number. What happened? It goes to GP. It pulls over all the information associated with that purchase order number, like the vendor name, vendor number, and so on, to help minimize manual data entry. Okay, so when I store documents into the system, we have ways where we can connect to other database within your company, like for example, your GP application, or even like HR application, any application you have. So we can pull data into our system, attach it to the document so that you don't have to manually type in those same information. It's just another way to minimize manual data entry. Okay, so let's do a search. Let's say I want to search for an invoice, and the only information I have is the invoice number. So I type that in, and then I click search. Oh, and by the way, is if you have retention schedule for your documents, we can apply retention schedule to specific document types. Okay, if you have expiration date, like for your contracts, you want to track them based on when it expires, or you may have maintenance support renewal documents that you want to track. Okay, we can add a field that said expiration date, and so therefore when we can set it up so the system can send you out an alert. Hey Joe, these are the contract that's up for renewal a month from now or 6 months from now. Or hey Joe, these are the documents that are up for retention schedule for a month from now. And then you can go in and renew or take care of those documents. Purge it from the system if need to. Okay. So here I've done a search based on the invoice number because that's all the information I have. Now I can do date range search. I can do wildcard search, Boolean search. Those are standard searching methods. Okay. So once I type in my information, I click on search, and here the system found one document based on that search criteria. Here's all the information about the document, so I know it's the right one or not, without having to open up and reading through the whole thing. Okay, I can actually go deeper than that. Let's say, hey, I want to see all the documents associated with that purchase order number, or show me all the documents for the vendor particular, okay? It will bring up all the documents. So here, let me select on the PO number because I want to see all the documents associated with that PO number. And here is the search result. I have 3 documents, different types of documents associated with that purchase order number. I just select them all, and with a simple click, the system now will display all those documents on one screen for me. There is no need for me to open and close to see each one. I can have it in a tile format or in a thumbnail format. So I have, I have the purchase order, packing slip, and invoice. This is very helpful, especially if your AP staff is going to be doing manual matching. They need to see the invoice, the purchase order, the packing slip, side by side, so they can do the manual matching. Okay, but we also, if you want, we can set the system to do automatic matching for you. So when an invoice gets stored into our system, we will read the invoice dollar amount. We will compare the invoice dollar amount to the purchase order dollar amount. If it meets within a certain threshold, then we will move the invoice up to the next stage for payment. If it doesn't meet within that certain threshold, maybe based because of tax or shipping delivery costs, we will send you an alert to tell you that, hey, Lisa, here are the invoices that does not match the purchase order. And then you take care of it from there manually. So we do have a way to set the system to do automatic matching for you. Okay. We can also set it to do matching based on by line item if necessary. Okay. So moving on, we have, because our system is designed for enterprise-wide use, different departments need have specific requirements. Another popular module we have is a Smart Form Toolkit. This is designed to minimize internal forms that you create, also minimize manual data entry. Example use of this module, here's just some examples, is monthly credit card consolidation, HR onboarding. When you onboard a new employee, there are a lot of forms that need to be completed and filled out. Expense report, for example, requisition requests. So any forms that you generate in-house, you can use the Smart Form Toolkit. Okay, so here's an example, the good old expense report. Many of us are doing that Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so what we do is we will create a template in our system to mimic your expense report. So when your staff logs into our system, it will autofill their name, create the expense report number, the date, but because we're connected to the expense account codes, okay, in real time, they can just start typing the description or the code, and it will auto-populate for them, and they just have to type in the dollar amount. You can then also attach your receipt. So I'm now attaching the receipt. I scan it in or import it in if I have it electronically, and then with a simple click, the system will create an expense report in your format with all the itemized charges or expenses, and then attached to it will be the receipt. And now you just use workflow to route it around for review and approval. And in addition to that, if you want, we can push the expense information over to your ERP application so that your AP staff don't have to sit there and manually input the data again. Okay? Again, another way to minimize manual data entry. Many of you have corporate company credit card. AP now spent hours or days trying to break up all the charges for each card holders and of course entering to the ERP application. Many credit card company now offers the statement in CSV format. So all we have to do is upload or import in that CSV credit card statement. The system will itemize all the costs, the charges, and with a simple click, we will create a separate statement per each cardholder with their itemized charges. Because these charges are itemized, if you want, we can push the charges over to your ERP application to minimize manual data entry. Okay, and the same thing for your HR onboarding. For example, Joe is being hired, and we need Joe to complete the drug test authorization form. If we have a template of that drug test authorization form in our system, and now you have an HR database that can contain all the employee information, their first name, their last name, their mailing address. We can link to your HR database, pull over the employee information, fill out the form for you. But before you email it out to Joe, we can add a barcode on that form. So now when it goes out to Joe, Joe signs it, he fills in the rest of the information, he sends it back to you. You can batch scan or batch store it into the system. Because it has the barcode, we will read the barcode on the document and automatically recognize it and automatically stores it into the system for you. Okay, just another way. We have other modules. I already mentioned about the web modules. We have electronic form, online electronic forms. Okay, we also have OCR. The purpose of OCR is to allow you to batch scan your invoices into the system. We will read the information and automatically store it into the system. By able to read the information on your document, it helps minimize the manual data entry. Our solution is also integrated with multiple reporting applications, one of them being IB360. So when you generate your report, if there are documents associated with it, there will be a link on that report. And when you click on that link, it will bring up all the documents associated with that report. So how are we different from our competitors? One, our system, we are partnered with Microsoft. Our system is fully integrated with the Dynamics ERP applications. And so because it's fully integrated, there's benefit for you as the customer, because you can upgrade your ERP application or DocLink and rest assured that the compatibility, the integration is still there. There are many products out there will tell you, oh yes, we can integrate with your ERP application. However, they do go through a method called screen scraping. So when you upgrade your ERP application or your document management system, the integration is broken. So you as Mr. Customer will have to pay additional professional services fee to redo that integration, which can be costly. Okay? Our system is an enterprise document management system, so the one-time investment, you can use it. Many will start, like I said, in the AP invoicing side, AR, and sales order processing, but you can expand that same system to department outside of the financial area, like HR department, engineering, and legal departments. Okay, so with that same system. We don't care how much data you store into the system. It could be the whole congressional library. We do not charge you a dime more. There are many products out there that when you meet a certain threshold, you will have to pay more. Okay, your IT just need to make sure that you have expandable hard drive space to accommodate the amount of volume of document you need to store into the system. Also is we store content. So not only files in TIFF or PDF format, but we can store Word file, Excel file, AutoCAD drawings, and video files, music files, so files in any format. Another key benefit to help you save costs is our licenses are concurrent. So you may have 2,000 staff, and you want all 2,000 to be able to have access and search for document. No problem. All 2,000 can have access if you give them security permission. The question is your budget. How many user licenses can you afford to purchase at a time? So if you can only afford to purchase 10, that means only 10 people at the same time could be accessing the system. The minute the 11th person logs in, sorry, Charlie, license busy, try later. And this is why, because our licenses are concurrent and because there are many license hogs out there, we do set the license to time out after a certain duration if the license is not being in use. And you decide what is that time duration. Is it 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours? You decide, okay? Our system is fully expandable at any time, so you are not required to purchase everything up front. You purchase what you need, and you expand, add additional modules, licenses at any time. We have integration tool that's available with our system. So once you expand to other departments, they may decide that, hey, can we integrate DocLink with my HR data application? The answer is yes, because we do have available the SDK tool that allows us to integrate with any application. We use standard hardware and third-party software. In most cases, we have customers can actually start implementing our system without the need or additional investment into hardware. Our system can coexist with other applications on the same server. However, we do strongly recommend separate dedicated server if possible to minimize bottleneck and system performance. Okay. Also, in addition to that is we do offer on-premise solution. So you purchase the software, it's a one-time investment, we install it on your server in-house, and it's yours for life. But we also offer cloud solution, okay? Because we have thousands of clients worldwide, we've been in business for 30 years, our solution has been out, and used by thousands and thousands of clients worldwide. We do offer 24/7 support, okay? So that's pretty much our solution in a nutshell. If we would be happy to provide you with our live demonstration, also have you talk to some of our existing users to see, to hear their story, why they wanted to go paperless, how does using a document management system help their company cut down on costs and be compliant and increased efficiencies. So at this time, I'll be happy to open it up for any questions. And if you have any interest in would like to see a live demonstration, please contact your TM group representative or us directly, and we will definitely get you connected. So at this time, I'd like to conclude the presentation. And we thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to speaking with you.